There we go. Okay. Ooh, we can get newbie. Yeah, maybe you're on the live stream too. Yeah. Except you won't look this way because you're sulking. Yeah. They just want to make, puppies want to make lots of noise, barking at whatever, and I just told them, come here and let's lay down and chill, and they didn't love that answer, but oh well. Just laying on my heating pad, doing a whole lot of nothing. Reading, scrolling, hydrating. I should start sipping my tea. I was just curious if this would actually push out notifications on my YouTube. I haven't been streaming very much lately, and it's okay if it doesn't push the notifications out, but then I'll need to start posting more content on my channel to appease the algorithm, because it's not very appeased right now, I guess. So I'm drinking holy basil tea, and which is otherwise known as Tulsi basil. I bought 3 different kinds of basil plants at the Jacksonville Riverside Arts Market this weekend. Also, I think my phone is crooked. And I had a great chat with the person that was there, and I learned that there's more than one kind of holy basil or Tulsi basil. I had no idea, so I actually thought that was pretty cool, and she had 2 varieties of Tulsi basil there. She had a Kapoor and a Rana, one of those, and then she also had lime basil, and I have a dream and a wish to have a whole garden bed full of different basils. I'm growing 2 different kinds myself right now, more culinary use. I've got like the Genovese basil, and then I've got Italian large leaf basil growing in my seed starting area. But she had like these fully established like big plants that actually all needed to be trimmed because they were all going to seed, which was awesome that I got to bring them home and harvest them right away, because I was able to immediately make some tea with them, and with the fresh leaves, and then I have some drying as well, just to kind of start my dried tea collection, if you will. But I thought that was so cool. I had no idea there were more than one kind of Tulsi basil, and they're quite different. The one that I'm drinking today is like affectionately known as like a bubblegum basil. That's not its official name, because there is a basil that apparently its official name is like bubblegum basil. But I guess this one is still a Tulsi basil, a holy basil. But when you smell it, it smells like, it does smell like bubblegum, a specific kind. Like, do you guys, I can't even think of what the name is because the brain fog is real. But like kind of the bubblegum that came in like, almost like a star shape. Like if you were making churros and you were squeezing out that dough, it was pink and kind of hard at first, and then it would like soften up. And like, I remember it like being sold at like the penny candy store when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm not old. We had penny candy. I miss when candy was a penny. Now I think the cheap ones that you can find are probably like a nickel, but whatever. I don't eat much candy anymore. But that's what the smell reminds me of. It's that kind of bubble gum. If anybody can remember, comment, because it'll drive me crazy. Maybe it's like was it bazooka maybe? I don't know. Also I got a comment. So did my dream come true? My dream is a work in progress. I garden as often as I can, but because of my health, that's not every day. So, and some days when I can do it, I can only do it for like 1 minute at a time. Sometimes, 5 minutes at a time. It's very rare that I'll be out there and be able to just like garden for half an hour. Like that literally never happens right now. But I live in Florida. The weather is super hot and super humid, and both those things can aggravate existing conditions that I already have. Right now I am hanging out in bed because I have pretty severe back pain yesterday and today. So I'm just kind of taking it easy, and I'm on my heating pad. I have a massagey thing that I use, and I'm drinking the holy basil tea, the Tulsi basil tea. So it's like this whole like back massager thing, and I use it up and down my back. So yeah, just kind of trying to actually rest, to heal my back a little bit, and avoid steroid use if I can, because that causes issues with some of my other health conditions. So the answer is I have the start of my basil garden bed. I've got the 3 plants that need to now get planted. The other 2 basils that I'm growing in my seed starting station, they look awesome, super healthy, but they do need some more time to grow and mature before I plant them out there. Ones that I would like to add to that, things like lemon basil and cinnamon basil, as well as some purple basil, and then some Thai basil, because we love Thai dishes, and we try to cook as much as of our own food as possible these days. And when we lived in the Keys for a while, our friend and neighbor was growing Thai basil, so we had all the Thai basil right out the front door that we could ask for. And when we moved back to the mainland of Florida, she sent us with a whole container full of her dried Thai basil. So every time we use that, or just see it in the pantry, we refer to it as, it's Beth. It's Beth's basil, because that was the name of our friend, and I have to check in on her and see how she's doing. I was talking to her, but yeah, we think of that every time we use that. So when I'm well enough, I'll pop the 3 plants that are more than ready to be planted into that garden bed. The only thing I have growing in there right now is a coral honeysuckle plant. I left the rest of the bed open on purpose because I knew I wanted to do my bed full of basil. Eventually I would also like a whole nother bed specifically just full of various mints. Like there's so many different kinds of these plants, and they each smell different, they each taste different, they each have different properties and different cuisines that they'd be good in, and my God, they just smell so good. Like after I got done trimming up the plants, my daughter was standing at the kitchen sink, and I walked up to her and was like, smell my hand. I'm like, I know, not a phrase you ever want somebody to walk up to you and say, but it smelled so good, and such a mix of like the 3 different basils that I was trimming up and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, it just smells heavenly. But yeah, I want like a whole basil bed. I want a whole mint bed. Again, there's so many different kinds of mints. I have not had good luck growing mint from seed myself. I've only tried like a basic, I don't even know, like a basic one that I just bought at the store. And I had luck the last time. I tried planting it 3 different times, I think. And the last time I actually got some to germinate, but they died out before it actually became anything. And I was like, geez, for a plant that like grows like an invasive weed, and you like have to prune it and keep it in checks so much once you get it going. It sure is really difficult to get going, like as a seed. But I bought like a big seed packet of like different medicinal and culinary herbs and stuff, and that has a couple different kinds of mint in it, so I'm gonna try those too. And then I've been kind of looking around on Facebook Marketplace just to see like who's growing various kinds of mint near me. And I've seen some apple mint, which I really want. That's supposed to be like a nice mellowy kind of mint. I also just saw today that somebody's got chocolate mint. That's more of like a mentally, like open up your sinuses kind of mint, but I'd like that too for, you know, when we're sick and stuff. But I want to have a whole bunch of different mints, and, you know, I think that would be really lovely to have mints and basils of all different varieties growing, so that, you know, we can just make our own teas and stuff. And then for my cooler, once the weather cools down here in Florida, I also want to have, I don't know that I'll have room for a whole bed of it. I think what I'm going to end up doing is sprinkling in different medicinal flowers and herbs throughout the garden. So, you know, things like echinacea and borage and, oh my goodness, now I can't think of plant names because brain fog, but you get the idea. Just other like calendula and things like that, because they have so much medicinal value, and the flowers themselves are great for, you know, bringing in and nourishing pollinators, which is amazing, and obviously something I want, because the more pollinators we have, the more my fruit and veggie plants will get pollinated, and then I have to do less work that way. Because it just popped up, but I didn't see who it was. I saw I have a new subscriber. That's awesome. Thank you. If you're still here viewing, give me a shout out in the comments. Let me know who you are, because that's exciting, and I'm happy to welcome you in. Normally I do more like garden chats and stuff. I'll do like garden tours and things like that, or little shorts about, you know, whatever I'm planting. But man, I'm getting bored, and I miss having people to talk to about gardening and what I got going on and stuff. So I just felt like I needed connection today. So I figured I would just turn the camera on and chat, and maybe other people will tune in too, and maybe they want to chat, which would be awesome. So, yeah, but that's my idea, to keep expanding. I have tons of seedlings that, by their growth, are ready to go out in the garden for my fall. Is it Yoseri or Yoseri? Am I saying that right? Hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. Welcome in. Either way, feel free to let me know in the comments how I pronounce that, just so I know, if you're joining in the future, how to correctly pronounce your name. I grew up with a last name that everybody used to butcher, and I used to hate it. So I get that my first name's relatively simple, but yeah, so I have tons of, one of the things I invested in. So let me tell you, if you don't know my story, I am currently unable to work, and I felt like I needed a purpose and a plan and something to do and a method of like connection when I stopped being able to work. So what I decided was that I was going to start growing a few things on our lanai, which is like a screened in covered patio. I don't know why, but here in Florida and Hawaii we call them lanais. And it started out super simple, literally just a couple pots of some things that we had growing on there. And it's expanded. We live in an apartment complex. It used to be a condo development, but was bought out by a management company, and they turned it into condos. But we have some space between our lanai and where the fence is, and eventually the lanai got so filled up with plants and not really anybody comes back here to walk, except for one of our neighbors who walks his dog, and kind of a loop around the building. And I was like, we're not bothering anybody, and we're keeping everything in containers or raised beds that technically, I do have a puppy. I actually have 2 dogs. One of them, let me see. I'll show you this guy. So one's on the floor right now because that's where he wants to be. That's Attila. And then the other one is in bed with me. Hang on. Let me raise this up a little bit. She's back there. Her name is Maybe. They love to be out in the garden or outside on the lanai with me. But that's basically how our garden started, and we just have expanded it. I'm trying not to add any more raised beds in there, mostly just so that if for some reason we're required to take it down, or if we eventually move, keeping it kind of easily movable for me is important. So a lot of my stuff is in containers and raised beds. So if we were required to take them down, we would of course try to comply and probably move some of the containers into the lanai, but the raised beds could technically be taken down, broken apart, and put into storage or into our closets or whatever, so that wherever we move next, we can have them, because it's really important to me to garden. When I started this, even when it was on the lanai, I kind of half jokingly said, this is going to be the garden that saves my life. And it's not a joke anymore. Being able to garden through this very difficult season in life where I'm physically and mentally impacted pretty badly by my chronic illnesses, the garden has given me meaning and purpose. It gives me a reason to get up out of bed. It gets me out in the fresh air and the sunshine, which admittedly during summer is very difficult for my health. But we've got fall coming and it'll start cooling down, and I'll be able to hopefully spend some more time out there. And, even on my worst days where I'm mainly stuck in bed, is my favorite Stitch. Oh, I'm glad you like the puppies. I do love Stitch. We're a big kind of Disney family here. So today I'm just wearing like this, I guess technically could be PJs or a regular shirt, but I've just got that and leggings on. I've got pajama pants that actually match the Stitch shirt. But yeah, we're a big Disney family. Living in Florida here, we loved to go to Disney. It's been a few years now. When my health was actually good, I was a travel nurse, and we were traveling around the country. And funnily enough, when we wanted to go on vacation, we would fly back here to Florida and like go to Disney and stuff. We haven't been since we're back in town, but that's mainly because of health and budget reasons. So yeah, we'll get back there someday soon. But yeah, we love Stitch. We love Disney in general. Thank you, David. It looks like I can't actually see the emojis, but it looks like it's hearts and number ones, and so I appreciate that. Thank you for being here and for stopping in and commenting. Every viewer, every like, every comment, that all helps. I'm gonna try to just, sometimes I guess I feel like I can't turn on the camera unless I feel like my energy's at a certain level, or unless I'm able to do certain tasks. And probably the truth is, when I need connection most is when my health is kind of feeling like this. But I'm going to try to just bring the camera along with me more, even if it's just a minute or two that I'm able to do outside and pop like one plant into the ground. Or I also this year have invested in a seed starting station out in the living room. Hang on, let me turn. I have this little fan and I'm feeling really, really hot all of a sudden. I do have trouble like regulating my own body temperature, so having little fans and cooling devices or like a heating pad to keep me warm, that's helpful. But my thought was with the seed starting station that we technically have 4 growing seasons here in Florida. Let me make this notification go away. I'll check that later. So starting at the beginning of the year in January, that's kind of like our cold season. So we have, why does this, I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys can also see the notifications. If you can, I apologize because it just keeps coming back. It's my blood sugar meter alerting me, but it's nothing important. So we have 4 seasons, and January is kind of like our cold season. Then when we get into early, like late winter, early spring is kind of our warm season. So that's when most people in other areas would think of as like their traditional garden season. So that's the time that we can do things like peppers, tomatoes, like that kind of stuff. Then in summer, which we're in right now, that's our hot weather crop season. So things that we can do during then, it tend to be like your hotter, spicier peppers. There's Seminole pumpkins that you can grow, which are native to this region. There's not like a whole lot that really loves to thrive in the summer heat here. There are certain crops that you can do, and I am growing those. But everything else likes to kind of die out or kind of go on hold until the weather cools down again. And then in fall time, we have another warm season. So another round of like all those tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, traditional squashes, like those kind of traditional veggie growing seasons. And then again, like down, towards November, December, January, that's our kind of cold season. And so we have 4 seasons. We can grow year round here, which is amazing. But my thought was with the indoor seed starting station is that I can actually start my plants well before we get to that season, so that by the time we're in that growing season, I've already got plants ready to go. I can move them out, get them planted right in the garden. So that's what I did, and I have a ton of plants that by their height and their leaf development, they're technically ready to go in the ground. But we are so stinking hot and humid here that I fear if I put them out like in the sunshine that they're going to wither and die. So I've been keeping them on the lanai for the past couple days just to kind of gently get them acclimated to the heat and the humidity out there. Before that, I would put them out on the lanai, but like only overnight. And I would bring them in by like noon every day and put them back under the grow lights. But the past 2 days I've been leaving them on the lanai completely around the clock. And then maybe I'll give them like tonight in the lanai yet, and then start moving them outside and only bringing them in if they're showing signs of stress, and kind of gently acclimate them that way. And once they can handle being outside in the sun, all the way around the clock without like just giving up and dying, I'll pop them in the ground out there. Technically I don't grow in ground. I just ordered a bunch more grow bags, which are like fabric, and I get the 5-gallon size, and I have some more soil coming. So most of those will go into grow bags. I do have some garden space for some of them that I'm going to put in. Like I have some Everglades tomatoes in a raised bed outside, and there is room for some more tomatoes to go in there. So probably like some of my Cherokee Purple, Dr. Witchies, things like that will actually, I'm going to make a row of tomato plants in that bed, and then do like the Florida weave to help them stay upright and do well. But the rest of them, I think, will probably just go into like 5-gallon grow bags because it's an economical solution and I can move them around with some help. My partner, Alex, is really good about helping to move things around for me because lifting and carrying things can be a challenge or impossible. So the nice thing is, if I do have a plant that maybe we get a heat wave, for reference, every single day right now in the forecast, our temperature's well over 90 degrees with high humidity. So a heat wave would be above and beyond those temps. It's very common for us to have our heat index as well over 100 in the summer here. But the advantage with the grow bags is if I have something that starts to wither, I can bring it into the lanai, as needed until it kind of rebounds or cools down a little bit. And when I say cool down, I'm talking like 5 degrees. But that 5 degrees, like last week, or was it last week? And maybe a little bit the week before, we did have that cool down. We were looking at temps anywhere from like low 80s to high 80s. And even just having that much of a difference allowed a lot of things to come back into bloom. Like I have a bell pepper plant outside that we thought was finished for the season, and we do plan on overwintering that plant and putting it back out again next year. But she started growing more flowers and setting pepper fruits. So I don't know, we left her out there. I'm not sure if she'll continue with this high heat. Same, like I have a cherry tomato plant that's out there and I thought was going to be done for the season. I was planning on ripping it out of the container that it's in because it's had so much disease and pest pressure, and the only parts of it that actually have good foliage are kind of like on the top third of the plant, where some of the, what do you call them? I'm blanking out. I can't think of the word. Runners. It's not runners. That's strawberries. But like where you have like a branch here and a branch here and like another one comes in between. Somebody help me think of that word. But like where that growth has occurred, it's all looking fabulous, healthy. It's setting flowers again. It's trying to set fruit again. If temps would have stayed like they were, I'm sure that I would have more peppers and tomatoes growing. But now that we're back up to like those, 90s and high humidity, the growth may just stall out. We'll see. It may be time to just say goodbye to those ones for right now. So I don't know. We'll see. But hang on, I need to kind of adjust my heating pad. Because, you know what, I actually think it shut off again. Yep. I was like, why does the heat feel like it's dying out? That's why. Alright. The pain today. I am used to living with pain. It's nothing new. But yesterday and today, it's been exceptional. So doing whatever I can to help mitigate that is important. But yeah, this basil tea is really different from the basil tea that I had the other day when I made it with the Rama Tulsi basil. This one definitely has more spice to it. The woman who had the shop described it as more of like a clovey, like a clove kind of flavor. And I'd say she's not wrong, but this is really nicely because it still like has that basil flavor. I'm not a huge fan of cloves in general. They're just not one of my favorite spices, but this is quite lovely. I will say I think I preferred the other Tulsi basil better. It had more of like a brightness to it. Both teas are sweet enough on their own that you don't need honey or sugar, or at least I don't. But I don't always use honey or sugar or sweetener or anything in my teas. Sometimes I like a tea just plain on its own so I can really appreciate the characteristics. I'm also trying to eat less sugar, more whole foods, all that happy crap, just to better my health. So having natural teas that I can grow myself and don't need any sweetener is a big bonus, because I'm drinking these on purpose to improve my health and be less, inflammatory and things like that. So, and sugar itself can be inflammatory. So having some that I don't have to put sweetener in is a yay, because I don't like doing artificial stuff either. I will say the smell, it smells spice, like not spicy as in hot, spicy as in spiced. It smells spicier than it tastes. I feel like the other one both smelled and tasted sweeter, but the flavor is not super spicy like it would be like a chai tea. That is a super spiced tea. It's not quite like that. But yeah, I like it. I like the fact that it came from the earth, and hopefully over time we'll have some good health benefits. Okay. How long have I been streaming this time? Does it say? There we go. Okay. Alright, so over half an hour. So yay. Even on a day when I'm kind of stuck in bed for the most part, I still got over a half an hour streaming. Woohoo, yay. That's good. Well, I'm kind of tuckered out from talking now. So I might go back to reading my few pages of my book. I am reading the Mayo Clinic's Guide to Fibromyalgia. It was given to me by some of my doctors, because that's apparently another new diagnosis I have. So try to read a few pages of that, and then maybe try to find something to watch. But I do want to thank everybody that tuned in to watch, to comment, whether you're watching now or you popped in and left, or maybe you're watching this on a replay. I just want to say thank you so much. Having an outlet to connect with other people is important for all of us, and it really does help me. So just know I really do appreciate anything you do to contribute to the channel. If you haven't already, please don't forget to share, to like. If you enjoyed chatting and want to see more of like my garden content and stuff, that that will be upcoming, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's free. If you feel like somebody might enjoy my channel, go ahead and share it out as well. And just know I appreciate you. I know you could spend your free time watching anything or doing anything, and I appreciate that you chose to share some of it with me today. So thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of the day wherever you're tuning in from, and I'll be back at a later date. Bye.